Hey, everybody. This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. What a lovely surprise it was on Saturday night, where Catherine, the Princess of Wales, graced us with a wonderful piano solo. Although being brief, it was lovely to see her in this gorgeous blue dress and so gracefully playing the piano. Now, I'm not familiar with this Eurovision contest, but apparently it is really big in Europe, and Catherine's performance was a surprise performance that opened up the show. Now, after looking into this a little bit further, it appears that there was some kind of controversy over the president of the Ukraine not being able to give his speech during this broadcast. I did find it odd that the papers would be reporting that Catherine's performance and the color dress that she wore was in tribute and solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Now, I don't know how true that is, but it did catch me a little bit off guard considering the royals are supposed to be neutral and not hold a position when it comes to politics. The media is predominantly responsible for what we believe and see nowadays, considering a lot of it here from the United States side is propaganda being pushed out. But if you really dig and search for the citizen journalists who are trying to give the reality, you realize that what we're being told and being fed may not actually be the truth, especially around this situation. From an American perspective side, the amount of money that the American taxpayer is giving towards funding this initiative over in the Ukraine does have a bit of concern for the American people because there are no checks and balances or explanation on how this money is being spent to support ending this conflict that we see going on. In fact, there doesn't seem to be any type of path towards ending this conflict. So, why it surprises me to see the royals, if it's being reported that they're standing in solidarity of this, it makes you question, is this propaganda? Is this fact? Because at this point, you really can't believe anything you're seeing in the media anymore. I hope that this is not true, and I hope that she just chose that color because it looks gorgeous on her. But you have to wonder. And we can all thank Meghan and Harry for causing this element of doubt because they've introduced us into how PR and the media can be used and weaponized. In certain circumstances, the palace is also guilty of using these types of tactics. They did this with Harry throughout his years in protecting him by pushing out certain narratives that they wanted the public to believe, even if it meant lying. Although on the surface, this piano performance is harmless, I just hope that there isn't supposed to be some meaning behind it to show political stance. For now, I'm not going to think too deep into it, but it's something to be aware of. And with all this global attention on Catherine, of course, like clockwork, the Harkles have to push themselves out into the American public's face again. Now, I don't buy this for 1 second. I believe that Meghan has taken a whole batch of photos and, when need, she drops them to TMZ. These photos don't say backward at the bottom of it, and I think it's because she's been paying attention to people catching on that she is the one who is calling backward. And on this Mother's Day, is anybody surprised that Meghan once again makes it all about herself? Instead of showing that she is a real mother and maybe even giving some credit to her own mom, Doria, no. Meghan took this moment to exploit the tragedy of others and latch herself onto another foundation, by the way, that is supported by all these woke Hollywood LA elites. So, of course, this stage photo was in boost of this fundraiser that they're doing for t-shirts. And there's no doubt that Meghan is probably getting a cut of it, or at least this is free PR to help improve her brand. But forget about including her children to show what a compassionate, loving mom she is. No. She is here now. She's riding off of the sympathy and pulling on heartstrings for this woman who had lost her 9-year-old son. Don't know exactly what happened. However, their Megha is to be propped up as the humanitarian and compassionate woman that they're trying to rebrand her image to be. This is all probably to get the attention to sell these t-shirts for this foundation. What I don't like in what I'm seeing here is that this organization really is exploiting minorities in the LA community. When you look at their financial report or their so-called impact report, it's all about people of color. There's no white people located. In fact, the people that are white are the actual executives. So this should tell you the story of what is going on with these liberal progressives who are pushing an agenda in order to make money. This staged Instagram post is no doubt part of Meghan's rebranding and was set up by the people behind supporting her now, which is WME. I mean, it's not a coincidence, in my opinion, that WME is a patron of this organization nonprofit. I don't trust these people. To be honest, when you look at the list of people who are funding and supporting these kinds of initiatives that focus on exploiting minorities and people of color who are disenfranchised or suffering, and what I find disgusting about this is that now that Meghan has forced everybody to look at people through a lens of what color their skin is, because she's so racist, you now start to notice these things, especially what I showed you earlier in this impact report. They clearly exploited people of color, but literally put their own white class as the directors and those as the face of the organization. Now, I find it really sad that Hollywood and the LA elites continue to keep doing this off the backs of hardworking people and those that truly need help in order for them to make their money and feel good about themselves. In my opinion, I think it's pretty safe to say that anything that Meghan Markle is touching definitely has a level of dodgy and shadiness added to it, because the people that she has surrounded herself with so far have proven themselves to be equally as shady and dodgy that you just can't trust. The United States has a serious problem with its media, in which there is a majority in the mainstream media who continuously push out propaganda. And what we are seeing is the warped brainwashing into an ideology that is very disruptive, divisive, but really serving the purpose of benefiting these rich elites. Let's look at this example of how our network here in the US, called ABC, which is owned by Disney, spun the story announcing this invisible child's birth in 2021. This is American propaganda at its finest.
Hello, I'm Deborah Roberts. The birth of a new baby is a blessing for any family, but it usually doesn't rewrite history in two countries. That is the case now that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's little girl, Lily, has been born. Her given name is Lilibet Diana, named for her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, who was called Lilibet as a baby, and her grandmother, the late Princess Diana. She is the first senior member of the British royal family to be born on U.S. soil. Her great-grandmother is not only the Queen of England, but also sovereign over 15 other nations around the globe. Her grandfather, Prince Charles, is in line to become the next king. So how does an American royal baby make her debut? Here's Kaylee Hartung.
Yes, California's new it girl is finally here. Proud parents Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, announcing Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor was born June 4th at 11:40 a.m. in the trusted care of doctors and staff at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital. Through the couple's spokesperson, they went on to say the new arrival weighed in at 7 pounds 11 ounces and that both mother and child are healthy and well and settling in at home. The baby's name, honoring two significant women, her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, whose family nickname is Lilibet, as seen here in this iconic 1929 Time magazine cover of then Princess Lilibet. The couple was able to keep the birth quiet for 48 hours before announcing their newborn. Royal watchers around the world had hoped to learn Meghan's exact due date when she announced her pregnancy publicly to Oprah Winfrey, but this was their only clue.
And when's the baby due?
It's summertime.
This summertime.
Yeah.
What a bunch of frauds. You can see that they're concealing something.
I think the fact that they waited 2 days, I think, shows that they did really want to do things on their own terms, maybe making a bit of a statement that they were able to do things on their own terms in their own way. But I think mainly it's a reflection of the fact that, like a lot of us, when you have a newborn, when you've just had a baby, you just want to just take those moments to be a family.
Which I guess includes buying up the domain names for websites as a priority.
And very much to focus on the family and have the chance to personally tell loved ones and do that at your own pace.
Let's not forget that allegedly Harry did not ask for permission to use the Queen's pet name, but instead just told the Queen that he was naming his daughter after her. The way that Meghan and Harry had ABC and these journalists, particularly Scobie, report this makes them look so foolish now.
And while the whole world is waiting for the first photos of the youngest royal and many more as she grows up with her older brother Archie, it's safe to say their parents will control how and when that happens.
I think it's safe to say that it's to the highest bidder.
Perhaps the most eager to get some photos of little Lily, the British tabloids.
Let's remember that this was June 2021. Prince Philip had died in April. And a month prior to that, the family took a beating from this Oprah interview. I think it's safe to say that the British public didn't care that Meghan had another phantom child. From what I remember, the royalists were appalled that Meghan and Harry would take something so personal from the Queen and use it for their self-promotion. The way that this American journalist that I'm about to show you summarizes how the British felt, completely inaccurate, but you can see that this is propaganda at its very best, and the narrative the Sussex camp was trying to force down the American public's throat, because after the Oprah interview, Meghan lost a lot of American support because many of us saw through the BS. So this attempt and this false image, facade, and narrative that they kept forcing on everybody, even on social media, is the reason why their image or brand was so inflated and inaccurately reported. This idiot that's about to report on the excitement about this baby got it so wrong. And I can't even understand how she did this with a straight face, but she looks absolutely ridiculous now.
Let's check in with Maggie Rulli now in London to see how news of the baby's birth is being received on the other side of the pond. Maggie?
Hey, Deborah. Yeah, this royal baby may have been born on American soil, but she is certainly being celebrated on 2 continents. I want to show you this. Look, her name already being splashed across nearly every UK newspaper. Many people saying it's that name, which they feel is just such a moving tribute to the Queen, is something that they want to celebrate in this new baby. We're hearing from the royal family as well. Some really special shout outs on social media. Prince Charles saying congratulations. Prince William and Kate saying they're just delighted by the birth of little baby Lily. Really so much joy right now in the UK, Deborah. And
this is about as fake as they come. And unfortunately, we have so many people in the United States who are absolutely clueless to what is being told to them and shown to them, that it's complete brainwashing.
all of this joy and celebration is coming at a time where they need it. You know, it has been a difficult few months here for the royal family. Remember, it was just 2 months ago that Prince Harry was back here in the UK laying to rest his grandfather. The whole family is still deeply mourning that loss. So in some ways, Deborah, this birth is such a blessing for so many reasons, a chance for the family and the public here in London to celebrate a new life and a new member of the royal family.
And who doesn't love celebrating a new life, Maggie? Now, of course, people are excited over there. You see those headlines, but do you sense any disappointment that little baby Lily wasn't born there?
You know, Deborah, we've sort of been waiting for this, but so far I have to tell you, it has been nothing but joy and celebration. Now, maybe those voices will come, but right now people are just thrilled by this new birth. And again, thrilled by that name, Lilibet Diana. So many people saying that name's almost like an olive branch, a way to maybe extend some peace and love and hopefully start to mend some of these fractured relationships.
Thank God that this piece was not internationally distributed, because had they shown this in the UK, this would have gaslit the British public on fire. The PR team knew what they were doing with this. This was essentially damage control here in the United States, considering the Oprah interview blew up in their faces.
Deborah?
Yeah, we love that name, Little Lily. Thank you, Maggie. Well, no doubt this little royal girl born in America will be of great interest to many in Britain as we learn more about her and her parents' plans to introduce her in person to her British royal relatives. So how will this little American royal baby grow up? More American or more British? More Hollywood or more British high society?
I think neither. They're going to be brought up in this artificial environment with no sense of identity because they've kept these children, if they exist. Personally, I don't think Lily exists, but that's my opinion. They're going to keep them away from ever knowing their heritage, and I do see a lot of therapy in their future, more than anything else, sad as it is.
So how will the British Queen's newest granddaughter grow up? Will she choose Hollywood like her mother? Charity work like her parents and grandmother?
Listen to what the official mouthpiece Scrappy Doo had to say, as he was the main contributor to this special on ABC.
Had Harry and Meghan have stayed in the UK and continued life as working members of the royal family, I think Archie and their daughter would have struggled to find purpose as they grew up. So now Archie and his sister are being raised in a world in which the possibilities are endless.
Maybe endless for this baby royal, but a long way from her British heritage. Which leads some to ask, will she and Archie have a relationship with the royal family? Especially if Prince Harry and his brother, future King Prince William, continue their very public rift.
Remember in 2019, the two princes were playing at a polo charity event. And the Duchess of Sussex with Archie, as well as the Duchess of Cambridge and her kids, were all pictured together having a wonderful time. And there was so much hope that this would sort of set the tone, that we were going to get more images like this one big happy family. And sadly, that didn't turn out to be. But who knows what happens? Maybe the birth of a new baby, in addition to the royal family, might bring them closer together, the brothers.
I think there's been a lot of hurt caused on both sides. I think the way that Harry and Meghan conducted their interview made it very clear how much anger, how much hurt, how much frustration they still felt, I think, all this time after leaving.
In the March interview with Oprah, Meghan seemingly holding nothing back about her days with the royals, including her stunning claim involving Archie.
So we had in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
So now listen to what Scrappy Doo says next.
The first biracial senior royal that should have been celebrated for those reasons, but came under questioning and scrutiny because of the potential shade of his skin color. And no doubt whoever made those comments will still have the same concerns or thoughts. Harry and Meghan's second child about...
You can't have constructed thoughts if you're unconscious, so the unconscious bias kind of goes out the window at this point.
We're very much not a racist family. So you can see why for Harry and Meghan there is still going to be that distance between themselves and the institution.
A new life in Santa Barbara, close to their mother's childhood home, though more privileged.
In America, he's seen as loved and adored. They are seen as royalty, but also people who were just trying to escape, in many ways, persecution.
Do you hear how ridiculous this guy sounds? As if like these two were fleeing from like a concentration camp. Listen to what he says next.
I think Meghan is beloved because she's the homegirl. You have to remember her mom lived off of Crenshaw in South LA until just a couple of years ago.
Well, doesn't this appear kind of racist? How come nobody's coming down on this guy for pretty much assuming that Meghan came out of the ghetto? My God, could you imagine if the British media called Meghan a homegirl? Forget it, Shouty would have lost her mind, and we would never hear the end of it. But instead, to push this agenda, they keep using that one headline of Meghan coming out of Compton, labeling the British media as racist, even though the article was written out of Los Angeles in the United States. Obviously, the Shouty Sholas of the world and those dumb Sussex Squad bots that Meghan has crafted together are not going to correct this story because, God forbid, they recognize the facts. it doesn't align with the agenda. So they're going to continue to keep ignoring it because there's too much money to be made in keeping racism alive. Because without putting out and dividing people and creating divisiveness, then all these social justice, equality, diversity, inclusion programs where these Fugazi foundations that have now popped up all over the place can't grift off the American taxpayer, as well as those innocent suckers who donate their hard-earned money thinking that it's actually going somewhere to help, at the end of the day, the people that really are disenfranchised.
Their daughter, along with their son, will be, in a sense, American royalty.
Gotta be honest, but American royalty is quite trashy when it compares to British royalty. Just saying.
They will also be growing up in a place where there are so many stars with so many kids that they can blend in and they can find people who are trying to do the same thing and escape the same thing that they are.
Great, just what we need. More vacuous, narcissistic, entitled, spoiled brats running around the streets of Los Angeles. Awesome.
Culturally, Archie and his sister are growing up in a very different environment to the royal children here in the UK. They'll be the first senior royals that we hear with American accents, that will be part of the American education system, that will be growing up solely in the US, and that's going to have a huge impact on their life that they live.
I mean, how much of an impact is it really going to have, aside from the kids being made fun of because their mom had insisted on them being called by these titles? It's only setting them up to isolate them further, which this country is not going to recognize or respect those titles as much as Meghan wants them to be. All it is doing is making it difficult for these kids to be accepted and have a normal childhood. The best thing that we can hope for is that these two alleged children, whoever they belong to, are in the care of other people instead of these two very dangerous and toxic people.
I think the Duchess of Sussex is waiting so that she could instill all her beliefs in. I really do.
And this is a very scary thought.
And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have another feminist and possibly an American president, because she can be. And who knows, maybe that's what Meghan is gearing for.
Born August 4th, 1981 in LA, by the time she was 6, her parents had divorced. She went to live with her mother, Doria, a yoga instructor and social worker, the makings of their special bond.
After her parents divorced, Meghan spent most of her time living with her mum Doria, and whilst their life wasn't always the easiest, Doria always made sure that Meghan had everything that she needed. Thomas made sure that her education was still top tier and that the money was there to send her to the right schools. From a very young age, Doria made sure that Meghan knew what life was like outside of their home. At 13, she took her to Skid Row in LA to see what life on the other side was like, and Meghan did her first stint helping out at a volunteer-run soup kitchen, and that's really where she got her first taste for helping others. Well, Doria is one of the most important people in Meghan's life, and we've seen her remain a stable and constant figure in her life, especially in the turbulent years that she's had as a senior working member of the royal family. When the Sussexes were living on the Windsor estate and the Queen was in residence at Windsor Castle, she became one of the family members that saw the most of Archie out of everyone.
Your family isn't always your blood. Sometimes your real family are people you meet along the way, grow to love and trust, and people that you form a bond with. I really do believe that Oprah could be one of these child's godparents, without a doubt.
Oprah's played a huge role in Harry and Meghan's lives, even helping Doria out during some of her tough times with the press. Harry and Meghan's children will no doubt grow up or go to school alongside some of the wealthiest, most famous children in the US. Their parents will have backgrounds in Hollywood, in the tech world, in the philanthropic space.
They will begin to bring people into the fold that they can trust, number one, and also that truly love them and their kids just because of the people they are.
And here we are 2 years later, and Meghan and Harry are still doing their very best to convince the world that they are living their very best life. The constant need to be in the public space, to portray a facade of being these global humanitarians who are world leaders when they can't even lead their own staff to stay with them. Let's be real here. How many people actually believe that these two are good parents? Nobody knows because they are never seen or ever with these alleged children. See, Meghan Markle has given Hollywood such a bad rap because she represents all that is wrong with civilization and society. No longer are families the focal point here in the United States, which is really sad. All of this, women have a voice and must have a seat at the table. Well, sure, I believe that, but at the same time, it's rude to force yourself onto being the center of the table, which is exactly what Meghan Markle does. Nobody wants a man or woman to assert themselves in places where they just don't belong. And quite frankly, since Meghan is middle-aged now, she can't really fit in the demographic of a young influencer. So now we're seeing Meghan pivot to capitalizing on the one thing that she has left, which is her role as so-called mom. Quite frankly, nobody actually believes that she is a good mother because nobody has seen her with her children or even interact with her children that hadn't been staged or faked. It says a lot about Meghan and Harry. I don't care if they're saying that they're doing it for privacy. BS. To bring in different kid actors to play the role of Archie in certain scenes, it leads me to believe that maybe the real Archie was not acting the way that Meghan wanted Archie to act and needed to bring in a child actor. Or possibly Meghan was just embarrassed of her own child because it was not as photogenic or charismatic on camera as some of the other actors. We did see the real Archie in the Netflix mockumentary, but they were predominantly in still shots. But the ones where the kid needed to show some type of personality, you can tell they brought in a kid actor, which I find so incredibly sad. They did the same thing to Lilybucks, where they swapped the girl out. Personally, I think Meghan is embarrassed of her children, and it's the reason why we never see them. It has nothing to do with privacy. I do believe that there is a level of insecurity because most likely they're not as cute as the Wales' kids. Let's be honest. We all know that Meghan wants what Catherine has. And every day she curses under her breath that she got stuck with the degenerate who will never be king and has 2 kids that probably are not even close to being marketable. The sad reality is that those kids are going to become Meghan's emotional punching bag. I do feel bad if they truly do exist, that they are in a home with that woman and are witnessing the emotional abuse that Harry is also being subjected to, as well as the children being exposed to the drug use, not only by Harry, but also by Doria. Could it be that a reason why they didn't want to film in their actual home for the Netflix mockumentary is because there might be things laying around that they don't want to get caught onto camera? I believe so.
Like, woo, chatting, going palm tree, house.
Anyhow, wishing all the mothers and grandmothers out there a very happy Mother's Day. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.